All right, welcome back. As you can see behind me on the monitor, we are going to have a lot on Mayor Charles Davidson today, buried in Terrebonne Parish. And of course, you're going to hear in the interviews that I had with several people at the funeral today what a great man this was. So we're going to let an audience build quite a bit for tonight's show. And later in the show, we're going to bring you those interviews which I had at St. Francis Cathedral today as we say goodbye to Mayor Charles Davidson. Now let's switch gears a little bit because what we do, we have Representative Joe Harrison on the phone, and there you can see behind me we're switching to the TED device. And Joe has been real forward and real public with the fact that an organization, NOAA, which is putting these meetings together, because they have to have public meetings on anything controversial in this realm, is placing meetings at times when trawlers cannot make the meetings. Now, joining me now is Representative Harrison. Joe, thank you for being on tonight's program. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Martin.
All right, now, I know you've been real out front about this, and you've been a little bit agitated because there's a certain woman that's really not playing fair in your opinion. Tell me what's going on, and tell me, it's really they're trying to hide these meetings, aren't they?
Absolutely. This is the same thing that went on many years ago when it came out with the TEDS rules. It was junk science. It was based on assumptions rather than hardcore science of saying that the shrimpers are the ones that are causing the mortality rates that they come out there with statistics on, and it is absolutely not true. This particular lady, who should go unnamed at this point in time, works for the federal government, but yet was with a very high-end environmental species group that she left there to become a part of the federal agency, which is like putting a wolf in the hen house.
Right.
I mean, she has absolutely misrepresented the numbers, the statistics about the turtles, and what they have done to try to get what's called the endangered species law enacted on our skimmer boats, which would virtually put our shrimping industry out of business.
Now, once they get that endangered species law, it's pretty much game over at that point.
It is,
Yeah.
and that's why we have to be diligent in trying to make sure that we don't allow it to happen.
All right, now tell me about what's really got under your craw, the times that these meetings are being scheduled. Give me some of the times, and I saw it in something that I was looking at. The print was, you needed 3 of these glasses to see where the meetings were, first of all. What about the meetings?
Well, the one right there in Houma is at the library across the street from H.L. Bourgeois at noon till 2 o'clock. Now,
That's tomorrow?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And I'm trying to get the word out because, again, they didn't notify us until today.
Okay.
So we're in a situation, and we weren't notified. I should clarify that. I had to ask the head of the Seafood Promotion Board what this meeting was about, because he approached me, and I'll tell you about the meeting I went to today with the governor, but approached me and said, "Are you going to be at the meeting tomorrow with Noah?" I said I wasn't aware there was a meeting.
Okay.
He said, "Well, we have a meeting in Houma tomorrow to talk about the TEDS." That's the sort of thing that, here are families that are out there in the shrimp industry, know nothing about these meetings. They're going to try to put the Endangered Species Act, and they're going to say that they had public meetings. That's a farce.
Right, and they have to have public meetings. As a matter of fact, I'm going to get Jason Serenier to put that on our board right now so our cameras can be there, because it's the first time we're really hearing about it also. So, in other words, just for law purposes, to educate the public, when there is something of this nature, they have to have a public forum, right?
Correct.
And so they're trying to minimize the impact by keeping people away and not really putting it in. It's not like we're seeing a bold print ad in the paper inviting people to come. They're trying to hide the fact that they're having the meeting, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And that's what's wrong. This affects the livelihood of people. This is something that is important to them and the well-being of their families. So, I turn it around and I said, what if we held a meeting that pertained to your livelihood? And this is what I told the lady. And you weren't able to come, but we made a decision on whether you were going to keep your job or not.
Right.
I said, so you need to think about the people that you're supposed to be giving this information to and accommodate their needs and not yours.
What was her reaction, Joe?
Not very good.
Okay, yeah, understandably. And but you hit a right where it hurts. And I've been hearing the stories when I came on and took phone calls from people who make their living by trawling, and they were telling me the stories how they watched planes drop turtles in these devices and other things. I mean, are you starting to hear the horror stories that I've been hearing?
I've heard a lot of stories about what could potentially be damaging to our industry, and try to support what they want to provide supposedly protection to the sea turtles. And it's all, again, it's on false information, and I should just say what it is. It's a lie, all based on lies. But that's the kind of thing that they've done with many other issues that deal with the environment and with the Endangered Species Act. That is a very powerful act of legislation, and it's one that scares me, and it should scare the public that are out there depending on our industry, our seafood industry, to survive.
Yeah. Now, also, I think switching gears, something that me and you worked on for quite a long time, the synthetic marijuana and bath salts. Am I correct? Is July 15th still the date?
Yes, sir. That's still the date.
That's a big day.
It is. It absolutely is. It's one that, you can't get a hold of what goes on in your family sometimes, of what dangers lurk out there, but this was one, and I'm thankful to HTV what they did. I got to give real thanks to Ricky Template, who has now decided not to come back to the legislature. We're going to lose a great legislator from the Harahan area, who was one of the guys who was involved in this from the beginning with us. And actually, he took the legislation because he's on the drug board. But, I happened to see Ricky at this meeting in New Orleans, which is something that's really a great announcement that the governor made this morning, and it involves our area. But the fact is, I think we're finally going to get a handle on this and be able to give our law enforcement the ability to do what they have to do to protect our young people.
Did he sign it yet, Joe, or is it going to be signed later?
He signed it. No,
Okay.
he signed it.
Okay.
He signed it.
So it's going to be law. So as of July the 15th, anyone selling this junk, they could be under, they're going to be arrested.
That's correct.
Marijuana, the synthetic marijuana too.
Yes, and the great thing, again, y'all played part in this, is that we're one of the leading states in the nation on this.
Yeah. Well, and I know, and I appreciate what you did in the forefront to you and Gordy and Joe Waite's district attorney, Cam Morvaunt,
Yeah.
and a lot of people. Look, there were a lot of convenience store owners that said it would never get done, but it got done, didn't it?
That's correct. If you get enough people involved in it who have the passion to make it happen, it'll happen.
Well, I know. What about the governor? Tell me about the governor's meeting today. How did that go?
Well, there was a preliminary announcement by the governor on money that BP is going to provide on a consistent stream to help us with our offshore problems that we have with the oil, and also, and more importantly, with our coastal erosion. Okay. We're looking at over $500 million that could come into the state of Louisiana. We're going to send a press release to you since it just came out, and explain some of the areas that we're going to be really kind of enhanced and blocking out our barrier islands. I know my good friend Gordy Dove has always been talking about the rocks and the barrier islands, and they are, it looks like from the list that I saw today, they're going to cover just about every one of them.
Now, you were actually put on that committee to deal directly with the oil companies and all that, so obviously y'all making some pretty good headway.
We absolutely are. The only thing that concerns me, and the governor mentioned this in the meeting in New Orleans, it was at the Port Commission, is that the federal government wants to delve out the fines, which could be substantial, somewhere in the area of $20 billion, that it would go according to the states. The 5 states would share equally, which I think is wrong. The governor did mention that in his press release, that he talked about we are the damaged state. We were at the epicenter of this.
Right.
We had the majority of the damage, and therefore we should not have to share equally with a Florida or a Texas, which were minimally, the minimal acts that happened there were something that they could have taken care of very easily with the monies they've already been given. But it's going to be a good thing for us, good thing for our coast, and something that we can really see some change, and it's under the NERDA Act. So it's a very good, positive thing that was announced today.
Well, Joe, we appreciate all your help. We appreciate you coming on board. When you're in the area, as always, come join us on the desk, and we'll have a long chat about how things are going.
Great. I appreciate it, Martin.
Right,
thank you,
Joe. Okay, once again, Joe Harrison, State Representative, bringing us some vital information on different aspects of different things. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a break. When we come back, later on in the program, once again, I'm going to bring you a piece that Chris Carter and I worked on today, and by permission of the family, we were allowed to tape a few interviews at the funeral of Mayor Charles Davidson. And the reason sometimes I don't say former mayor, because when you see, or when you saw Mr. Davidson, he was the mayor. So you didn't say Mr. Davidson, you always said Mayor Davidson. And that's the way he's going to be remembered. And when we come back, later on in the program, we're going to play you some of those interviews, and we're going to open up the phone lines, 879-1231. Talk about what would you like to talk about tonight. We have the mayor who passed away. We have a sheriff's deputy who was reprimanded. His pay was cut because he took a four-wheeler to his private residence. You would think that a public official learned after our report on the school board a few years back, but obviously not. And we have other things that we can talk about. So when we come back, phone lines are open.